Steel Curtain Network.
Touchdown! Touchdown para Calvin Austin! El Monte Washington es arma. ¿Quién más? ¿Quién más? DJ Watt!
What is going on, Steeler fans, and welcome back to another post-game show. I'm Jeff Hartman. Steelers win 24-21, but of course it's never easy with this team. Joining me as always, Bryan Davis and Dave Schofield. Bryan, what's up?
Hey, it's top of the morning to you, and yeah. I guess I have to say that. But, you know, I kind of felt like this was such a special, fun day, and I'm still in my head feeling that this was a dominant win until that crazy stuff at the end. I love the way they played in this game, and it got crazy at the end, but I'm comfortable with this team.
I agree with you about the dominant part. Dave, what's up? How are you?
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic to finally be able to say it and not have to continually remember year after year. Yes, the Steelers are not generally good in week 4. I was hoping they would be better because they were in Ireland. But the big one was that they hadn't won in both week 3 and week 4 since 2004. Now it's over. It's done. I'm so happy that we can, that I don't have to continually remember that every year, and that the Steelers are now 3-1.
They are 3-1. This game had a lot of fireworks for a lot of reasons, from the opening Minnesota drive with the would-be scoop and score. We're thinking Jalen Ramsey picks up the Mason fumble and runs it back, but it comes back, to the would-be James Pierre interception. There's a lot to discuss here. Let's start off, as we always do, with knee-jerk reactions. Bryan, I'll let you go first. What was your knee-jerk reaction after the win?
My knee-jerk reaction was that this was a really entertaining game for the fans in Ireland. They did a great job. Everybody, TJ Watt, Mike Tomlin, everybody has been talking about how they were received in Ireland. It felt like a home game, which it was technically a home game, but I go ahead and put apostrophes on those. So not apostrophe.
Exclamation marks.
No.
I mean, what I don't do? Like, what do you do? Like air quotes, or like how are you shaping this?
Marks.
Quotation marks.
Yeah.
Home game. So
yes.
Air quotes. Okay, got
it. So air quotes. That's what I meant to say. But anyways, I kind of feel like the Steelers, with losing Jaylen Warren, still found their game, and they really played. It's very rare to see the Steelers have 5 sacks and a good bit of turnovers in 1 week and go ahead and have 5 or so sacks again the next week. So that's unheard of usually. I mean, you look at the Vikings, 48-6, the Vikings fans, and Dave talked about it a lot the other day, how comfortable the Vikings fans were, the Vikings were, and 48-6 usually doesn't happen the next week. The 5 sacks, really, that's not an encore. You know, sometimes you get 5 sacks, you think you're going to be lucky to get 1 the next week. But the defense is kind of finding themselves. The end was wonky, but I really like the effort of this team today.
All right. Dave, what are your knee-jerk reactions?
Yeah, what's really tough is where do you what's the last taste that you have in your mouth is how things finished up. And when the Pittsburgh Steelers were going out there to win this football game, they dominated. They were, 24-6. They did a really nice job. I mean, they started slow on offense. And we'll
with
talk
a blocked
about
field goal too.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I mean, if they have that, whenever they even settle for the other field goal, I'm like, oh man, 28, I'd feel like this is over. 24, I'm not so sure. But when they were playing to win, they were crushing it. When they suddenly, and it was after Renegade was played. They played Renegade in Ireland, and the Steelers go from playing to win to playing not to lose. And they almost blew it. But I don't want to focus on that part of it too much, because my goodness, they outplayed them, they outcoached them, and everything else for almost 50 minutes. And then they curl up in a shell and everything. But they had done so much in that first part that it was too much to overcome.
I'm going to say something. I want to get something off my chest. It's been building up all week, mind you. and this is more from the Steelers fan base than anything else. Oh, Brian Flores. He's basically a god that's here on earth and coaching defense. We'll never be able to do anything against Brian Flores. Oh, we wish we still had Brian. Shut up. Like, seriously. Like, my gosh, they are coaches too. They get paid. And what you saw in this football game was Aaron Rodgers. He knew how he could maximize every single play by taking his time, waiting till the very last second to snap the football, seeing exactly what they were going to do, waiting for his buddy Harrison Smith to leave the box and sprint back before the last second. He knows it. This is what a veteran quarterback does for your football team. But my gosh, like, I was so sick and tired of hearing everyone talk about, oh, well, Brian Flores' defense is going to be so tough. We're not going to do anything. The Steelers ran the ball efficiently. Like Dave said, up until they basically went in their shell and stopped trying to win the game.
They still ran it pretty good after that.
They still ran it efficiently. I was so sick and tired. I like Brian Flores. Let me get that. If he was the defensive coordinator of the Steelers, I wouldn't be complaining. But oh my gosh, just how loud. Oh, he's so great. What a genius. Shut up already. Kudos to Arthur Smith, Aaron Rodgers, that entire offensive staff, players, etc., should be feeling ecstatic with the way that they played. I'm so excited that they got this victory. You shove it, Flores. That's what I'm going to say. Shove it. Gosh, I was getting frustrated just watching the damn game. All right, let's get to some super chats here. Heath Davis gives us $5. Says El Jefe, the defense took more steps forward with the success running the ball. Do you think Arthur Smith's offense needs a single bell cow instead of a committee? I don't. I mean, Jaylen Warren is inactive. They try to see if he is good to go before the game. He said that Mike Tomlin after the game said that Jaylen Warren was like, I can do it. They said, no, we're not going to push it. Let's get your knee right. And they look good. And I thought Caleb Johnson did okay. So, Brian, I'll let you chime in there.
Yeah, so here's the thing about that. You know, having Gainwell go off today, look, you just don't have to go with a hot hand. That also takes a lot of pressure off of Jaylen Warren. It actually took pressure off of Caleb Johnson once that first carry was ugly. But after that, you know, he looked really good too. And that was very important. We talked about it the other day. He didn't go off, but I talked about how he needed to get involved in this game. And I know that was kind of by default because Jaylen Warren wasn't in. But that was very important for him to have a positive day and getting the snaps that he did and the yardage that he did. So I really think this makes it a stronger running attack. The bell cow days in the NFL I think they're a lot less than what a lot of people think, because a lot of people are going back 10 years and all those years that they watched football. I just think that having guys that are capable, and Kenny Gainwell's won me over and he started winning me over last week too, because I just didn't like the usage. But now I think, did you see that stat of how many yards that he got? It was like 70 plus outside the tackles, and that's very important for this team too. So I think they established a lot on offense today, getting that 100-yard rusher, going over 100 yards. I don't know what it does for our over-under, but I really liked the running game today. I know we're going to talk about it, but that was very important. I know this is a super chat question, but getting Kenny Gainwell there, and now you add Jaylen Warren hopefully back in next week or 2 weeks from now, you're stronger. Caleb
Absolutely.
Johnson, you're even stronger.
Dave, do you want to chime in on that?
Yeah, well, I do have to say, unless there are sometimes after the game they update their stats. Right now, I'm looking at Kenneth Gainwell had 99 yards.
I thought he got that extra one at the end.
Yeah, which was kind of a bummer. But anyway, we'll see if that number changes as I refresh stuff. My biggest thing is Steelers fans and so many other have been downplaying Kenny Gainwell ever since they signed him in March. Everybody talked about how the Steelers had to draft a running back. I'm like, you do realize they have Jaylen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell. And then everything's all about Caleb Johnson. And the whole time I'm like, well, you know, they do have Kenny Gainwell. Saquon Barkley talked about him glowingly and everything. And now, do I think that he's an every down number one guy every week kind of running back? I don't. but I think he's a quality enough running back that he could do exactly what he did today. So that's which I think was extremely important. So I'm not saying like, oh, he's the next thing and he should always be the guy out there. No, but people have been downplaying him, and we all, at least the three of us, know about Jeremy Betts going off about how it was coaching malpractice that Gainwell outsnapped Warren in week 1. I'm like, why are people so down on Kenny Gainwell? He's actually a pretty good weapon that you could use in the passing game and the running game. And today he showed that he could get the job done for what the Steelers wanted.
Go, Bryan.
I figured it out when Dave was talking. He's a guy that Dave brought up the other day on our preview show. He's Milwaukee Moore. Mm-hmm. And if you have Kenny Gainwell being a Milwaukee Moore type player, then you're going to be pretty good.
Yeah. All right, Tom Plays Games, or Tom Muir, gives us $3. It's $1 per W. Looked like an early 2000 Steelers game. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Strong defensive performance, offense made enough plays to win for sure. All right, before we get into the minutia of the stats and the box score, I want to update the injuries. Yes. Mike Tomlin spoke after the game, and here is what he said. Calvin Austin III suffered a shoulder injury, was actually being evaluated in the hospital there in Dublin. I'm not sure the status of that, but that's not typically a good thing. Jalen Ramsey had a hamstring pull. He was able to return. I don't think he should have returned. He was kind of limited in his mobility if you watched him on the field, but the fact that he was able to get back out there is a good thing. The bye is going to come up a good time. Darius Slay got cleated. He was able to return. Brandon Echols had cramps. And then obviously we talked about Jalen Warren, who was held out of this game due to a knee injury. So, but other players who were questionable that, Jonnu Smith played with no wear or tear on his hip injury that had him questionable. So there you go. And Deshaun Elliott, he played and was fine. Actually had a fantastic football game. Mm-hmm. So, all right, Dave, are you ready to dive into the box score? Let's start with Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, starting with Aaron Rodgers.
That's right.
He was 18 of 22 for 200 yards, 1 touchdown. That was the 80-yarder to DK Metcalf. Was sacked twice, and both of those sacks were just completely blown blocking assignments. Which we can talk about after a bit. But that was for 18 yards lost in sacks. He had a rating of 119.7.
Okay, Bryan, what did you think about Aaron Rodgers?
Did he end up getting over 200?
200 on the nose.
Okay.
And my over-under was 205.5.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good one.
I think I took the over, too. But anyways, very efficient, very smart game. I think, Jeff, you may have mentioned something before. Maybe it was Tomlin talking about it, but I just heard it in the last 20 minutes. He's the leader out there you need. And I really felt that I was comfortable the entire game with I actually missed the sack, the first sack of the game. So I never saw it. I will. I'll
Dave,
go back and
don't go to his house ever again.
I know. That's like, I'm surprised they're done the game right now.
I was in the bathroom.
Oh, I thought it was just for you pause it.
No, we've never paused it. I was thinking about that today when I was in the shower, how Dave complains about it. Ever since Dave said that to me, we have never paused it since. So I missed it because I had to run to the bathroom. So yeah, I mean, you're going to pigeonhole me with that, but no, that's why I missed it. Everybody in the house saw it but me. But no, I thought he played a very solid game, and that's what you want out of him. I realize 80 of those yards were DK Metcalf, but it doesn't. You don't have to go crazy when you have the running game going like that.
All right, Dave, thoughts on Aaron Rodgers?
I thought that what he did, as much as anything that you already talked about, of dissecting, have a much better idea of what the defense was doing pre-snap, was key. Of course, that first drive got blown up by the sack on the very first play, which, like I said, we'll talk about that in a little bit. I thought he just did. He was above the neck what the Steelers needed in this game in order to win it. So maybe I should keep talking until Jeff makes it back. And there's Jeff. Are you here? And there he's not.
I'm here, and you're right,
Okay.
Dave. You're absolutely right. Above the neck, this is what they haven't had. And I include Russell Wilson in that. I don't think he was as above the neck towards the end last year as what needed to be. Absolutely, Justin Fields wasn't, Kenny Pickett wasn't, Mitch Trubisky wasn't. He's the right quarterback for this team. If they can grow around him, they're going to be a whole lot better. But the window's limited, and you know that. But I think I can't remember what Jeff said. Was he 17 for 20, if I'm not mistaken?
I said it. He was 18 for 22.
18 for 22.
to 22.
My gosh, that's a solid.
I will say what impressed me, and for the second straight week, I don't have Aaron Rodgers on the winner or loser list. He's just kind of like floating in that, purgatory of in between. But still, I look at this and say, what I loved about this game plan, and maybe this is more to Arthur Smith, when he was having to get rid of the ball quickly, the past two games, where have we seen those passes go? Outside the numbers, towards the sideline. This week, they were going over the middle. And this is when you saw those quick hitter slants. You saw him definitely dialing up DK Metcalf. Obviously, DK Metcalf's catch and run was a thing of beauty. But Aaron Rodgers for everything that I talked about earlier, is showing us how valuable having a very smart guy that's been there, done that type quarterback, how important that is to success in the NFL. So I do want to bring up one thing before we go to the running game. Smitty753 in our live chat said that in Dublin at Croke Park, there's no medical equipment in the stadium. Mm-hmm. So they have to go to the hospital just as probably to get scans done or an MRI. So that's important to know. I know when some people saw on Twitter that he was taken in an ambulance to a hospital, it immediately makes you think this could be really bad. And it could be really bad. I'm not downplaying the injury. But at the same time, it's not like in the NFL where every team has x-rays and all that stuff in stadium. So, all right. With that out of the way, unless anyone has anything else about Aaron Rodgers, let's go to the running game.
All right, to the running game. It was led by Kenneth Gainwell's 19 carries for 99 yards, which was a 5.2 average and 2 touchdowns. Caleb Johnson added another 22 rushing yards on 6 carries for a 3.7 average. Aaron Rodgers was 3 carries for 8 yards. One of those, actually 2 of those were kneel downs. But the other one was the scramble. That was interesting.
Ball bounced right to Bronner Jones.
Bounced right to Bronner Jones. And then Connor Hayward had 1 carry for 2 yards because people do not realize the Steelers converted that 4th down play before that penalty was called. So they already had the conversion where they got the 2 yards on the 4th and 1.
Was that the tush push?
Yes.
So
which we didn't see on TV because they didn't actually show it.
Right.
But in all, it was 131 yards on 29 carries for a 4.5 yard average.
So Connor Hayward took the snap on the tush push.
Yes.
Why the hell didn't they run that play on 3rd and 1 at the very end of the game?
You mean, or even 4th and 1 rather than take a delay of game and punt it and only net 20 yards?
We'll get to that. We'll get to that for sure. I know we're going to be talking about that, and I have a lot of questions.
Is that what we call the Living in Our Fear segment? That'll be coming later?
A lot of questions there. But anyways, I didn't know that Connor Hayward was the one that took the snap because when they showed the play, it was just that back.
Well, they ran it so fast
that
NFL Network wasn't even anywhere close to being ready to film it, which, oh well.
Yeah. All right,
it makes you realize that CBS really does do the best job on a lot of these games.
Brian, you've talked about the running backs a lot due to the super chat earlier in the show. So is there anything else you want to add about the running game?
No, I loved it. My only fear in this is that we didn't see as much between the tackles as you probably need to see. You saw a lot more outside running, and that's fine. But I think a lot of improvement, and hats off to the offensive line.
See, I don't see it though. I thought their most successful runs were up the middle. Especially a lot of those. And I even had it because I was doing the knee-jerk reaction article. I'm like, what do? They're running it up the middle, getting yards. Then they try to run wide, and they lose 2. So I felt that they were doing it enough, and they were doing a good job with it. My goodness, the one I really loved it was a Caleb Johnson run for, I think, 6 yards because the entire offensive line just pushed them 5 yards down the field. That's the kind of stuff that we need to see out of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Unless CBS made or NFL Network made a mistake with that stat with that stat. It was on the screen how many yards he had outside the tackles, unless I read it wrong. I'll have to go back and look.
Yeah.
Okay. Dave, did you want to add anything about the running game?
One thing I would say about Caleb Johnson early on, it felt like he was more concerned about covering up the ball with two hands than he was actually hitting the hole and gaining yards. But he did loosen up and do better in the second half, where he had like a 9-yard run and a 6-yard run. So that was much more improved. But I was concerned about that early on, that he was so about security because of things that have happened before. But in all, I mean, Gainwell, I wasn't expecting that to come the way that it was with Kenneth Gainwell, especially in the fourth quarter, when you knew that they were running, that he rips off a couple 15-yard runs. I mean, in the fourth quarter alone, Kenneth Gainwell had 42 yards on 8 carries.
Shoot. If you would have told me, because honestly, I had to run to the grocery store when the inactive list came out, and I put it in our Slack channel. I was like, oh my gosh, Jaylen Warren's not playing. I did not have a good feeling after I saw that. If you would have told me, Jeff, at this game over in Ireland, the Steelers are going to rush for 130. What was their average again, Dave?
Hold on. The average was 4.5, 131 on 29 carries.
They averaged 4.5, and they're doing it with Kenneth Gainwell and Caleb Johnson. Would you sign me up right now for that? Great job by the offensive line. I do wonder what it would have looked like if Jaylen Warren was in, meaning some of those holes, I think Jaylen Warren would have been gone.
Yes.
But Kenneth Gainwell's pretty explosive too. I'm not to take that away from him. I was ecstatic with the running game. I thought it's what set everything else up. And I know Aaron Rodgers said after the game, when they were talking about DK Metcalf, they're like, what was it that changed that you got on the ball? He said, we were running the football. When we're running the football, it sets up everything else. So really good with the running game. I was very happy. So let's go to the pass catchers, Dave.
All right, the pass catchers. Well, we should know who was the big one. That was DK Metcalf with 126 yards on 5 receptions, 1 touchdown, which went for 80 yards. He had 92 yards of yak, just putting that out there. Next after him was Kenneth Gainwell, 35 receiving yards on 6 receptions. Darnell Washington got into it this week, 20 yards on 3 receptions. Calvin Austin had 13 yards on 2 receptions and then left the game injured. Jonnu Smith, 2 receptions for 6 yards. And one thing that I found extremely interesting is that Pat Freiermuth didn't even have a target.
Yes, I noticed that as well. Like, that dude's been MIA all year. He's had 60 yards receiving in 4 games.
And he's the one that screwed up on the blocked field goal.
Yes.
It does make you wonder, for sure. But, Brian, I'll let you talk about the pass catchers.
Pretty good when only 1 drop, and I think that was Caleb Johnson at the beginning. Was it?
I know Caleb Johnson did have a drop on a swing pass.
Yeah, it wasn't horrible too. It was a dead play.
No, but there was that was it. I didn't see any other drops. Very, very good. I mean, if we're gonna say Rodgers had a good game, you got to say the receivers did too, because I really I thought DK was special at the beginning of this game. 5 for 5, fantastic. I like the very beautiful pass early on to Jonnu Smith too. I thought they did a good job catching the football. One of those incompletions was they tried to get Skoranek, but it was just thrown away from them. But I thought it was a solid game with the pass catchers. Grades are good for the offense for me today, because I thought they played very solid. It just got nuts at the end.
Yeah. Dave, thoughts on the pass catchers?
Yeah, I thought they did the job. It's obvious that the Steelers, if they're going to run a lot of tight ends, that the main players that are getting your snaps on offense at wide receiver are just DK Metcalf and Calvin Austin. Now, you got a target to Skoranek and a target to Miller there late after Austin was out, but and neither of them, were they able to connect. But I mean, I liked seeing Darnell Washington getting into the mix there a little bit more, and I really like the idea that, hey, we're going to get the ball to DK Metcalf, even if it's just a quick hitter, even if it's just toss it out to him. I mean, he had 1 catch in the second half. I think it was the first play of the fourth quarter, where where they threw it out to him real quick and on a 2nd and 2 or 3rd and 2 or something like that, and he got the first down. Just getting him involved in that manner. And they're doing, from what I can see, I'm not, like I said, I'm not a big wide receiver guy, but the fact that you're catching 18 of 22 passes is pretty good.
Brian, what do you want to say?
Washington, the big thing for me, no red zone targets. I love the fact that they were throwing him the ball, outside of the 20. They were actually trying to make a concerted effort to get him going, and they did.
Yeah, red zone offense wasn't as good as it has been leading up into the game. I think they finished 2 for 5. But ultimately, I look at the pass catchers, and I did find it interesting that when Calvin Austin left the game, as Dave mentioned, it was Ben Skoranek and it was also Scotty Miller who were getting targets, not Roman Wilson. So Roman Wilson, the only time his name was called was when he recovered the onside kick. So something to keep in mind and consider, because I know a lot of people were wondering about the second-year player. But let's finish this up with some offensive line talk. Dave, I'll let you go first. What did you think?
I thought the offensive line did a much better job in this game, except there are 2 plays that stand out that wasn't their physical ability. It was more about what was going on between their ears. I mean, my goodness, how does the guy who is closest to the ball on the snap not get touched as Zach Frazier blocks right and Isaac Sayamalu blocks left? And the guy he was actually trying to stunt. They were trying to stunt on Zach Frazier, and he goes to block in. Frazier realized no one's touching him, and then he just takes off and get Rodgers with the very first play. And then the other one was a guy with. It all depends on what the blocking scheme is of where you're going to get help. I mean, if you don't, unless a running back or tight end is specifically designed to take the guy on the end of the line of scrimmage, you assume that those are going to be the tackles. So when Broderick Jones is blocking out and Isaac Sayamalu blocks in and lets a guy go on his outside shoulder, that's troubling too. I don't know if either one of those definitely were Sayamalu's fault, but I do find it interesting that both times that there was a complete lapse in blocking scheme, it was between Sayamalu and someone else. So that's something I'm going to have to, try to see other people break it down, or maybe hear more about what was supposed to happen on those plays if they asked them. But I thought they got good push on the running plays a lot of the times. Jeff, you had them as the offensive X factor. I think that was very important. I think if the offensive line doesn't do a solid job in this game, then Kenneth Gainwell's not able to really get going, and the Steelers are extremely one-dimensional. So I felt that the offensive line, that I thought it was their best game so far this season. On first viewing, I do need to go back and really try to break it down a little bit more.
Brian, what was your take?
On paper, the Minnesota Vikings have a much better offensive line than the Pittsburgh Steelers. On the field at Croke Park today, the Pittsburgh Steelers had the better offensive line, protected their quarterback well, opened holes, and they did the job. So hats off to them. They took everything that has been said about them, and I'm sure the coaches have been saying to them, to heart, and they got it done, and got it done. I'm sure there's a game ball going to them inside that locker room.
I thought the offensive line acclimated themselves well, and it's something that I've talked about. I talked with Dave about this not on a recording, on our Slack channel, was like all we want to see is progress. We want to see them moving in the right direction. And I can honestly say that every single week in the first 4 games with the offensive line, we have seen progress. Has it been tremendous? No, not always, but it's been progress. And I think today was a big step forward. So it might have been like, okay, from weeks 2 against Seattle at home to going to New England, it's like a little baby step. They didn't have any sacks in New England, but we're still watching it saying that doesn't look right. This was a big step forward, in my opinion. They ran the ball well. They were opening up lanes, it was good. I thought it was a good performance. Not going to complain about the offensive line. So there you go. Offense is in the books. Let's take a quick break. If you're watching live on any platform, we're not going anywhere. When we come back, I want to talk a little coaching before we get into the defense. We'll be right back. All right, Steeler fans, we are back, second half of the podcast, and it is time to talk about a bunch of stuff. The defense did a great job. We'll talk about that, but I want to talk about coaches' decisions first and foremost. Greg Olsen, who I like Greg Olsen, he does a great job. and he's typically on Fox. I think that he's better than Tom Brady, but that's neither here nor there. He was adamant about the Steelers that they should have gone at the goal line, which they didn't get it. Adamant that they go for it again on that 4th and short. Instead, they try to bluff it. They end up punting. Bryan, what was your take of the end of the game coaching decisions?
I was the one in my living room saying that they should not go for the field goal because it's really not going to move the needle as much. The only thing that it would move the needle for is that if they get close enough, they would need a field goal to tie it. But I wanted them to go for it there in that situation. They did. There was a long field. I thought it was a smart move. Did not work though because you had that long one to Addison. I was for it there. I was for the punt though the second time around. I think you have to in that situation because it is too close of a field when you're only down by 3 at that point that you really can't go for it there. You're not the Detroit Lions where you're just going to do it because you always do that. This is the Steelers. I thought they had a punt.
Dave, what was your take?
Okay. I just don't like the overall completely sweeping change in philosophy when you hit a certain amount of time on the clock and you have a certain lead. Because sometimes I feel like their time is off. They do it a little bit too soon. I felt like they kind of went into their shell a little bit too soon defensively this time. I liked the idea to go for it on 4th down there because of what Bryan was saying. Now, you see later that, because you're saying it doesn't change how many scores the other team needs and they don't have enough time. You do see it at the end. We're like, wow, they just need a field goal to tie. Or if not, they would have needed a touchdown in order to win. So then you can kind of see that, how that played out. I don't like the play that they ran. I don't like a run on 4th and goal with the 3-yard line. I really don't. And that's when, if you had a more mobile quarterback, that's when you take advantage of that situation and that kind of play. I love the idea that they did that. I mean, if they wouldn't have had the field goal blocked earlier in the game, 1, they don't think about the field goal being blocked, and 2, that would change the number of scores that you had. So that one I get. It's you really could have gone either way there. I could have seen it either way with what they did. Now with the 4th and 1 where it was, my other issue was if you want to go out and try to draw them off sides, you can't get to the line with 4 seconds left in the play clock. That's what got me, is that they took so long to decide they were going to try to draw them off that they didn't really have enough time to draw them off sides if they were going to do that. Obviously, once you take the delay of game, you're punting. But if you would have gone for it and not got it on that 4th and 1, the main thing against it was the yardage. But when you choose to say, we just don't want to get the punt blocked, we're going to punt it out of the back of the end zone, that's another one there. Why not go for the corner? I mean, even in the middle of it, go for the corner coffin at least. I know that's a lost art. Head it to the sidelines deep, and if it goes into the end zone, at least you were trying to do something to pin him a little bit deeper. But to the 20-yard thing, I was like, wow. One, and the other thing was with how much time that was left. When you're over 50 seconds, you're like, wow. One play can be 20 yards, and in one play, you could give up exactly what it was that you weren't willing to take for. Because I understand. You get that half yard, the game is over. You're in victory formation. So that's why these guys get paid the big bucks. But I will say this. For the first, 48 minutes of this game, my goodness, did the Steelers completely out-coach the Vikings.
Yes.
So I don't like how they just shifted so much with 12 minutes left in the game. Maybe with 7 minutes left in the game, I can start to see that. So that's the only thing that I have with it.
Do you know by chance, Dave, where they were on the field for Waitman's punt that he just basically kicked into the out of the end zone?
Okay, where they were, I'm going back to find the specific play. They were on the 45-yard line because they were at the 40.
Right.
Minnesota 40 on 4th and 1. I mean, my goodness, you're not that far from Chris Boswell field goal range, honestly.
Right. I mean, it was such a short distance that I even thought, Waitman has such a leg, kick it really high.
Yeah.
And see if your return team, like James Pierre, Jimmy P, he could go down there and almost catch it or down it on the bounce. Like you said, I hated that and you knew there was a design, just kick it into the end zone. We don't want to return, kick it in the end zone. I was like, come on. I was okay with him going for it down to the goal line, and I was okay with the punt. And there's a lot of people killing Tomlin for punting the ball. I was really pissed that they punted it into the end zone, giving him it at the 20, because now it's like a 19-yard differential in terms of field position. Like,
you pin him inside the 5. You could have ended the game on one play by getting a safety. But instead, give it at the 20. They have all that breathing room. Yeah.
But I'll go back to the fact that if you have this tush-push play, I mean, my gosh, I'd put Darnell Washington under center.
Absolutely.
Who's stopping that guy for a yard is what I want to know.
The question is, are you confident in him taking the snap and not fumbling it and everything like that?
Connor Hayward is a good option too.
Yeah.
Like if you're at 4th and 3rd and short, run that play.
Yeah.
And the run play they ran was just really discombobulated. It didn't look smooth or fluid or anything like that. So, all right, enough coaching stuff. Go ahead. What do you say, Dave?
I didn't think about it too much later. I'm like, 57 or 58-yard field goal. Would you? I mean.
No,
the thing is, if you miss it, it's at midfield.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't hear anyone talking about that. But when you have Chris Boswell, you really could have you could have considered it. But one was already blocked earlier in the game, so that really wasn't. If they'd have tried that, that might have even been a little bit fishier.
And if you saw that 33-yard field goal by Boswell to make it a 24-point total for the Steelers, the Vikings must have seen something on the left side of the Steelers line. They were in on that one, too. It was close. It was way closer than it should be for a chip shot.
I want to look up the rule. I didn't think you were allowed to put 7 players on one side of the ball, even if they weren't all in the line of scrimmage.
You can't because the Steelers got flagged for it a couple games ago.
But they had 7. On the one that they blocked, there was 7 on that side of the ball.
Oh, interesting.
There was 6 up on the line and then 1 off the line.
Okay.
So that's why I want to look up the rule specifically, because I'm like, do they have to be lined up on the line of scrimmage? Because they did have 6 guys on the inside up there. So yeah.
All right. Well, let's look at the defense. And Tyler W gives us $1.99. Thank you very much for the tip. He said Peyton Wilson and Keanu Benton bounce back games. Absolutely, both of those players did a great job. Let's start with the run defense. Let's start there. The Steelers hold. I know they hold the Vikings to I think 70 yards total, Dave.
70 yards of rushing. Yep.
All right. What does that look like?
It looked like Jordan Mason, 16 carries for 57 yards, a 3.6 yard average. You had Carson Wentz, 2 rushes for 12 yards, one of which was an 11-yard scramble. That was the longest rushing play of the day by the Vikings. And Xavier Scott had 2 carries for 1 yard for a 0.5 average. In all, 20 carries, 70 yards, 3.5 average, with only 1 long that was in double digits.
Bryan, what do you think about the Steelers' run defense in this game?
All right, hear me out on this one. This was not that much different than last week. The difference was Drake May is young and fast, and Carson Wentz is a veteran player that does not scramble that well. That 11-yard scramble was nice. I get it. But that's what killed them last week, and they still won the game. But that's where they had all the problems. Those 40-plus yards from May is what made it. I think they had 60-some yards on the ground without May. And then when you throw it in, that's why they were over 100 yards. I thought they're controlling the line of scrimmage a little bit better and controlling the running game better. Mason had a great week last week. 3.7, that's decent, and I get it. But I never thought that, wow, this is a sieve. This is a lot of holes in this run defense. I just never felt that in this game.
All right, Dave, thoughts on run defense?
I'm going to say it how I said it from last week, too. The Steelers did a very good job stopping traditional running plays. When you talk about, quarterback scrambles and things like that last week, that's what got them last week. This week, it was just that one. I mean, I feel like they did a really nice job. I mean, they gave up like the 9-yard rush to Jordan Mason, but I mean, your teams are going to bust one of those at some point. You're going to get the right play call against the right defense that happens to work out. I just thought in all, the Vikings could not rely on a run game, and the Steelers getting a lead also helped with that as well.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I thought the run defense took a huge step forward, and Tyler said, Keanu Benton, he did have a bounce back game. Like he needed this. He was turning into a punching bag with the fan base, and he's a bust, and he's regressed since his rookie year. And the statistics back up that narrative. For at least 1 week, he kind of turned back time a little bit. So that was
well.
Good.
Also remember this. I still think they did a nice job, but Keanu Benton, maybe this is good for his confidence. But they were the Vikings were down a guard going into this game, and during the game they lost a guard and a center. So. Yeah.
So he did what he should do against
Exactly.
Packers.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, okay, let's go to the pass rush. This was fun. They got after Carson Wentz early and often. What does that sound like to you, Dave?
All right, well, it was 6 sacks. They've kind of redone how they originally awarded these sacks. Okay? Keanu Benton got a sack and a half. Nick Herbig got a sack and a half. So they took one where it was originally, I think, 2 to Benton and split it with Herbig. TJ Watt had a sack. Deshaun Elliott had a sack. Patrick Queen had a sack for 6 total sacks. Here you go. 14 quarterback hits.
Man.
14 quarterback hits compared to the Steelers only gave up 3.
Yeah.
14-3 is the discrepancies there. Yeah, I have a feeling you're going to see that number in tomorrow's article.
I would imagine you're going to see it in a couple articles.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying in mine for sure.
I know for sure. All right, Brian, what do you think about the pass rush?
Phenomenal. And I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay. Dave, anything to add?
I got more to say because I got to go down and break them down play by play. But you know what was so good? I know at least 3 of those. At least 3 of those were on third down. That's big because the Steelers weren't, they were having big time problems with the third down defense. And what did they do? Oh, we talked about, I mentioned that Carson Wentz 11-yard scramble. That was on a third down. They got that. Do you know what the next 3 plays were? Technically a sack when they stripped the ball from Wentz and the Vikings recovered it, but that was a sack. Then the next play was another sack, and then the next play was the TJ Watt interception.
Yeah,
that's what happened after that third down scramble. I mean, what a great progression to come back to. So I mean, and both the Steelers interceptions, which were both off deflections, they also came on third down, and. So that I think that is really key too. Now I know we were talking about the pass rush. We'll have to see if Jeff is back to say anything more there. But from there, I guess Brian, we can transition into the pass defense, where the Steelers did have 2 interceptions off of two deflected balls. Let's see. Passes defensed in all. The Steelers had 8 passes defensed, 2 by Deshaun Elliott. One there was to end the game. TJ Watt had a pass defense. Juan Thornhill had 1. James Pierre had 2. Jack Sawyer had 1. I guess they changed it because it looked like Cam Hayward got his hand on that ball that TJ Watt intercepted maybe first, but they changed it to say that it was just Watt that batted it to himself.
Yeah.
So,
what was the
sorry,
pass? That's fine. It's fine. What was the pass that was it Deshaun Elliott's interception when someone said it got batted, it got tipped?
Harmon.
Was it Harmon that got his paw?
Yeah. And and that's where his one pass defended was that was Derek Harmon.
The NFL Network did an awful job showing replays of like impactful plays and impactful moments. It's like, show the replay again. Like, I want to see who got a hand. It was just like the interception by Brandon Echols against the Patriots. It took 2 or 3 replays to see the Cam did get his fingers on the pass, which deflected it. So defense, they stood tall. That's for sure. So you guys went over all the pass rush statistics and pass defense?
Well, we needed to say something, so I just went to
That's
that.
fine.
Well,
So you went to the pass defense.
I didn't really talk about the pass defense.
I also did not give the numbers of what the Vikings did with pass defense. So if I said what the Steelers did, but the Vikings, Carson Wentz was 30 for 46 for 350 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions, an 84.5 rating. two different players on the Vikings came up with over 100 yards receiving. Justin Jefferson had 10 receptions for 126 yards, and Jordan Addison had 4 receptions for 114, but a lot of that was that 53-yard play where there was the breakdown.
Okay. What did you think about the pass defense, Bryan, in terms of what was going on with coverage? We'll put it that way.
Well, I'm going to say this. A lot of the breakdowns at the end, they were missing some guys. They were dealing with injuries on the in the defensive backfield, losing Eccles for a little bit. I know he got back in there. I was excited when I saw him running around there. He is so important. When he was not there, it was dangerous. Ramsey, I know he came back as well, but he didn't come, like Jeff mentioned, he didn't come back the same. Maybe he should have stayed out more. So there were some breakdowns there, but all in all, I'm looking at the first 3.5 quarters, and I thought it was pretty good. I also thought there was I don't know whether it was a 15, 20-yard play to Jefferson, which I think Eccles might have been on him, but the coverage was amazing, and it was a perfect catch and thrown perfectly. I'm actually saying that I did not. 350 plus yards is kind of an illusion. Having two guys over 100 yards. Dave mentioned that 53-yarder there with Addison. I thought on paper that they look a whole lot worse than what I saw with my eye test. I was not that concerned that much as far as the passing game, the pass defense was. And then at the very end of the game, they I'm going to save this for my final thoughts, but at the very end of the game, they were getting all they needed to do was pass. And Carson Wentz, when you're down 24-6 at one point, you're going to pass a whole lot more. So those numbers are going to be inflated. And that's one of the reasons that all of us took the over on Aaron Rodgers the other day, because we thought they might be behind in this game and he might have to pass a whole lot more. So giving up 350, I know that kills your ranking, but it does not. Look at the eye test. I thought they were a whole lot better.
Okay, Dave, what was your thoughts on the pass defense?
Yeah, Brian's exactly right. The Steelers, or here we'll say that this way. Carson Wentz was 11 of 19 for 182 yards in the fourth quarter. Okay, so over half the yards they had in the air were in the fourth quarter. I thought that the Steelers had done a nice job before that. And honestly, I think where the Steelers won the game ultimately was the third quarter, when Wentz was 3 for 7 for 14 yards and an interception and a rating of 10.7 in the third quarter. The Steelers' pass defense was great until they made that change in philosophy of, hey, we're up this many, we're up this 3 scores. Let's go ahead and just try to make sure that we run enough clock. I felt like they went into that. I felt like after the Renegade and everything, you could have come out and not played in that regard and really gone for it for one more possession, then let your offense do something and then kind of go more into that mode. But I felt it was a little early. But I mean, my goodness, when you look at that third quarter defense versus fourth quarter, was just night and day.
I'm going to say one thing about pass defense that you guys haven't said yet, and it's just a shout out to the hustle of Peyton Wilson.
Oh my gosh, yes.
How many times have we seen in the National Football League, Jordan Addison or someone like him is streaking down the field and they just given up on it? And Peyton Wilson kept the pedal down, and they still scored. They still ended up scoring on fourth down, but it took over like a minute off the clock. Yeah. And when you're talking about a game that comes down to seconds, that was huge. And so Peyton Wilson, good on him. He had a great game anyways, but that one play told me a lot about him, and he's not giving up on anything. And so for him to run down Jordan Addison, I think I saw on Twitter that he was tracked at like 22 miles per hour or something like that, some crazy next-gen stat running. It gets insane. All right, Dave, you alluded to this. I'm going to give you an opportunity if you want to add anything to it. Eric Weidman gave us $5 and said, thoughts on why the shift in team philosophy at the 12-minute mark in the fourth quarter. So, Dave, you kind of talked about this already. Yeah. Anything you wanted to add?
That I don't like it. Okay, I'm going to say that there's something weird going on with some of these stats because when I go back and look at that play, it says that the play to Jordan Addison was for 81 yards.
Yeah, I thought it was.
It's not
But I don't know why they say that his long was only 50 some yards. It's crazy. So this is on the Steelers media website. There's still some different things that are being
there you go.
that are being updated. What'd you say?
I said there you go. It's on the Steelers.
Well, that's where
website.
because they use the official game stats. There we go. There when I go under player stats, it says his. Oh, sorry, I was looking at Yak instead of Long. Long was 81. That was me. That wasn't them.
That's okay. That's okay.
But okay, what was the original about the going into the shell? I've already talked about it enough. I should let you guys.
Brian, anything to say?
No, you gotta other teams, the better teams in the National Football League that go farther, they continue to go for the throat. One thing that I hate giving props to the Baltimore Ravens, and I know they're a 1-2 team right now, but the Baltimore Ravens seem to continue to go after it and be aggressive. Other teams are aggressive, and the Steelers with a lead are not aggressive, and I think sometimes you need to go for it and just be aggressive and know that you can go ahead and that you're good enough to not make a mistake. And it goes back to, people like to bring up living in your fears a lot with Tomlin, but sometimes being conservative there is not really the best play that early, because the National Football League is not what I grew up with in the 1980s, with if you had a decent lead with 5 minutes left to go, it was over. And now in this day and age, we saw an AFC championship game just a couple years ago that how many scores under a minute in that Chiefs-Bills game. It was insane. I think the Bills had the lead with 11 seconds and still lost
it was
that
15.
game.
Yeah.
So you can't play that way anymore, and that's where I wish they would change that philosophy, that you don't have to say, let's rely on our defense. It worked, but it's not comfortable.
Okay.
Yeah. If I would just wanted to say, I know we need to get moving, but it's not that you should never do that. I just feel like, because Brian says in today's NFL, when you can score so quickly, it seems like that they do it too early for some reason. But, that's, hey, it still worked in this case. I just didn't like having to have being put through a massive stress test at the time.
It's the pucker factor.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to do some final thoughts here. The Steelers are 3-1 going into the bye week, which is a great feeling. No matter how they got here, what they could be, coulda, shoulda, woulda, they're 3-1 heading into the bye week. So let's do some final thoughts. Brian, I'll let you go first.
Okay, my friends, this is a game where the Pittsburgh Steelers, believe it or not, they overcame a lot of things. They overcame a very subpar offensive line. They overcame a defense that could not stop the run. They did so many things. But what else did they overcome? They overcame two big defensive plays that ended up being for naught. The Jalen Ramsey one early, the James Pierre one late. Now, James Pierre, he did have that bobble, but when that happened in the just last year, 2 years ago, when stuff like that would happen, they fold. They did not fold today. They feel like this actually just really contradicts what I was saying about playing conservative and let your defense go ahead and win the game for you. But that defense absolutely won the game for them again today, especially late. So this is a defense where we've seen 3 times this year in 3 wins where the opponents had a chance to win or tie at the end, and the defense held strong, and they did it again. So the pucker factor is there. Dave is having to get stress tests. He's on the treadmill, all this kind of stuff. But at the very end, they came down with it. So even though we don't like the philosophy, it's working. And if I was the coach and pulling that stuff off, I'd be like, scoreboard, it worked. So 3-1, enjoy it, and then take a nice rest. And Tomlin was talking about how he's going to give them a rest and how he promised them something in the press conference. I'm looking at the fact that take that rest, come back and start taking care of Ohio. And then if you can take care of Ohio, you're looking at 5-1. Don't want to get ahead of myself, but you really wanted to be 3-1 after these first 4 games. This first, I'm considering it a quarter because of the bye. This first quarter of the season, you got away with it in your 3-1, and you cannot ask for anything better than that. Of course, you can ask for 4-0, but you won these games.
All right, Dave, final thoughts?
All right, I've got several things here. First of all, Steelers fans, you're welcome, because for years and years I kept saying about how bad the Steelers are in week 4, and then I'd pick them to win, and they wouldn't. This time I'm like, you know what? I'm going to say it. I'm going to pick them to lose and see if they turn around, and they did. So that's I'm really excited about that. Wanted to also say about people that are upset about the Jalen Ramsey touchdown. And they're like, oh, well, it's a bad rule. It's a bad rule. That rule has worked in the favor of the Steelers many times. And the rule is this. If no one has possession of the football, if someone touches the ball and any part of them is out of bounds, it's out of bounds. Now, if Ramsey would have already grabbed the football and the guy would have touched it from out of bounds, but Ramsey had possession, wouldn't have mattered. It could have just kept going. It's what it is, and I don't know of any way that they can make that better other than saying, well, it's a penalty to touch it when you're out of bounds. I don't know how they enforce that. That's just one of those sucky things that didn't come through. But for people saying about the coaching, and yes, I don't like how much they kind of, started to play prevent too early. I can't let that overshadow how much they dominated a team that they were that all we heard, that Jeff said, all we heard about is how great their coaches were, how they have their quarterback whisperer head coach, how they have like the defensive icon coordinator, and yet the Steelers completely had them. They did. So remember that, Steelers fans. Remember that. Also, this is a really nice time to be rolling into the bye. What I said on the preview, not this past Thursday, but the one before, and then was mad about it at the postgame show, I need to keep reminding myself of that. I said the Steelers, after week 2, had a lot of problems, and you couldn't expect them to fix them all at once. You had to fix some of them. They did that last week, but we were still upset about some of the others. You know what they did? They fixed some big problems in this game. They fixed that third down defense, which was a big problem. Their offensive line, although they still had some of those miscommunications, especially in the run game, I thought their offensive line did a real nice job. So they were making the steps that they needed to make. You got to look at this bye week of losing momentum. It's get healthy, come back, keep building on it, and just go out there and spank those Cleveland Browns in 2 weeks. And more importantly, play a good game in Acrisure. Because the Steelers are 3-0 away from Acrisure and 0-1 at home. That's what you need to go going forward. I'm excited that, hey, at least it's a good dominant win up until the end for the Steelers to roll for 2 weeks until we get them back on the field again.
All right, my final thoughts are that sometimes you have to take a global perspective of things. It's easy for us to have a knee-jerk reaction to this specific victory at this specific game, but the Steelers are 3-1. And they're 3-1, and you look at the rest of the division. Now, sure, while we're recording this, there are other games that have yet to happen. Bengals play on Monday night. The Ravens have yet to play at 4:25. The Browns are currently playing the Lions. There's a really good chance, though, that maybe the Ravens lose to Kansas City and are 1-3. You take that advantage any way you can get it. I don't care about, how they did it, but they did it. 3-1 is 3-1. And by the time they come out of this bye week, something to remember is Joey Porter Jr. should be healthy. I'm assuming that Jalen Warren will be good to go. Darius Slay will have less of these issues that he's been dealing with. You're going to be a different team coming out of the bye week. I think it's a perfect time. I've never had a bye week as a fan that doesn't come at the perfect time because there's always injuries. You'll get Alex Highsmith back most likely after the bye week. You should be happy, Steeler fans. You should be very, very happy. So We're going to be back next week on the Steelers preview. We won't have a post-game show next week. We're all going to be taking a little bit of a hiatus next week for sure. But Steel Curtain Network is not stopping. SteelCurtainNetwork.com. All of our podcasts, except for the post-game show, will still be going on next week. So make sure you check those out. Guys, thanks for your time. 3-1. Steelers win over in Dublin. Congratulations to all of us, because now we get to just watch football. So, all right.
Yay.
Yeah. Dave, take us out. We'll see you.
Oh, am I taking us out?
If you want, I just totally forgot that's a preview thing.
You know what? Hey, can someone help me out maybe? I know we're going over a little bit now. Can anybody give me a Go Steelers with an Irish accent? Because I couldn't do it.
I can't. Brian probably can.
Oh, you know I don't do.
I know.
Top of the morning to you. Go Steelers.
There we go.
Not even close.
Steel Curtain Network. Get it.
Everybody else gets a little tight.